more completing the square. This time we're solving x squared minus 16x equals negative 16. So our b is negative 16. So again, we want b divided by 2. So let's go ahead and do that first. We have negative 16 divided by 2 squared, that equals negative 8 squared, which equals 64. So then what this becomes on the left-hand side is x squared minus 16x plus 64 equals negative 16 plus 64. The left we can now write as a perfect square trinomial. We can write as the square of a binomial. So we have x minus 8 squared equals, this is 48 on the right-hand side. Now we take the square root of both sides. We have x minus 8 equals plus or minus the square root of 48. Add 8 to both sides. We have x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 48. We'll simplify. That's 16 times 3. So the square root of 16 is 4. We're left with the square root of 3. So x equals 8 minus 4 times the square root of 3. Or x equals 8 plus 4 times the square root of 3. As always, we will check our solutions by substituting into the original. We have 8 minus 4 times the square root of 3 squared minus 16 times 8 minus 4 times the square root of 3. We want to know, does that equal negative 16? So multiplying through, this ends up being 64 minus 4 times 8 is 32, and that's twice, so minus 64 times the square root of 3. 4 squared is 16, square root of 3 squared is 3, so 16 times 3 is plus 48. Minus 16 times 8 is 128. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that's plus 16 times 4 is 64 times the square root of 3. We want to know again, does that equal negative 16? Well, minus 64 times the square root of 3 and plus 64 times the square root of 3 cancels. 64 plus 48, that ends up being 112 minus 128, that's negative 16. So this one checks. Now for the plus, we have 8 plus 4 times the square root of 3 squared minus 16 times 8 plus 4 times the square root of 3. Does that equal negative 16? So that's 64 plus 64 times the square root of 3 plus 48 minus 128 minus 64 times the square root of 3. Does that equal negative 16? The 64 times the square root of 3 is canceled. We're left with the same thing we had the first time. 64 plus 48 minus 128. That does equal negative 16. So that solution checks as well. So when x squared minus 16x equals negative 16, x equals 8 minus 4 times the square root of 3, or x equals 8 plus 4 times the square root of 3.